Welcome to episode 2 of Musical Memoirs. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who left messages and comments after the first episode where I interviewed Sean Hughes. I'm really glad that so many people enjoyed it. Now in episode 2, I'm continuing to interview people who I find inspiring and interesting. This month I have a chat with my good friend Lorna Cole, who is always super interesting to talk to. In her late 30s, she decided she wanted to change career and do something that helps people, which I find really inspiring, especially as it took her a few years of studying to achieve this, and she's even currently in the middle of doing a master's as well. Lorna grew up in London, the eldest daughter of a Jamaican dad and a Barbadian mum. She studied fashion and ran her own label for a few years. She's travelled a lot and lived in various different countries. Lorna is one of my favourite people to go to live music gigs and festivals with, as she's so much into her music like me. I know her from Ibiza, where she was a presenter on Holiday FM radio. We talk about living and working in Ibiza and about her return to London, where she helped in setting up a brand new TV station. She tells me about her journey from this to training as a psychotherapist and setting up her own practice. She tells me about her experience being one of the counsellors who helped the surviving residents of the Grenfell Tower in London after the fire there. We talk about how the public perception of therapy has changed a lot in the past 20 years, and how she works a lot with people who are dealing with trauma in her practice. Along the way, Lorna takes me through 5 tracks that mean something to her, and I ask her to tell me about someone that she finds inspiring and why. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I'm here with Lorna Cole. How are you doing, Lorna?
I am good. I'm very good.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. It's normally the other way round, right? In our experience,
yeah, very
normally
much is.
I'd be the one kind of interviewing you.
Yeah.
Times have changed,
That's
Jamie.
funny, isn't it? Yeah, because I know you're from Ibiza, don't I?
Right.
And you used to present shows on HFM, the radio station that ran for a little while out there.
Yeah.
And when we were doing our Filthy Gorgeous parties, we had a weekly show sort of thing with you.
Yeah, kind of regular spot that you would come in and take over the studio with. It was always like an entourage.
Yeah. It was good. It was good fun, wasn't it?
A collection of very cool DJs.
15 years ago.
Oh my gosh. That's just taken the wind out of me, Jamie. It doesn't feel... it feels like an age ago. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
But it's still fresh in my mind.
How did you end up doing that?
The radio job, gig? It was, oh my gosh, the whole Ibiza thing for me, it was a complete... I didn't have any idea that was on the cards for me. It was not something that was in my head. I'd never been to Ibiza, all those, my friends that would go clubbing and would go to Ibiza every year and talk about how they'd spend £10 on a bottle of water. And I was just like, that's not my scene. I love house music. I love clubs, but Ibiza's not for me.
No way.
I'd never been. And then my friend went to live there, Natalie, who you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And she was like, just come and visit. So I was like, very begrudgingly went over and paid her a visit. And within an hour, I said, oh my goodness, this place has got some energy, man. I need to be here, man. And
there actually is something about
there's something about the energy in Ibiza.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, and I guess it happens to people, right? They go there and they get sucked in by the energy. And I was one of those people. And at the end of my week's holiday, she took me up to Cafe Mambo. There's a radio station up there above Cafe Mambo. And she was like, just get their number. There was nobody there, but I took somebody's number and gave them a call as soon as I came back to work after my holiday. Rang up from the studio. I was working at a radio station in London. Rang up and I was like, I'm thinking of coming to Ibiza. Do you need any help? And very randomly, they were in the middle of a meeting about needing a female presenter.
No way.
And... this is going back some years, right? So they were like, can you send us anything with your work? And I was like, actually, somebody's just made me a demo. I can email it to you now. And I didn't even know how to email a sound file.
Oh, no
so
way.
I had to figure it out, sent that over. And within an hour, I had a job in Ibiza for the summer.
Wow. And what year was this?
This was 2005.
Oh, wow.
2005. So we're going back some.
Yeah.
And that was it. I packed up, quit my job, packed up where I was living, and I was back in Ibiza a week later.
Amazing.
And that's how it happened.
Because before we started this, you were telling me that there was a guy with some tarot cards.
And we were talking about how things just change,
Yeah.
you know, on your path. You think you're going in one direction, and then things can change overnight. And this guy in the tarot, so before I went to Ibiza, I was working at a radio station, loving my job, lots of lovely perks, loved the team. That was my dream job, playing music and talking.
What was the station?
It was Time FM and Fusion FM. So there were two stations kind of networked
Okay, yeah.
in southeast London. And it was heaven. It was heaven for me. Loved it. Didn't think I was going anywhere. And was working in a pub in the evenings. And on a Wednesday night, they'd have this guy come and do tarot cards. And I remember it was one dead Wednesday night. And he was like, oh, why don't you just come and get yours done? And he laid some cards for me, and he just told me that I was going to be living in another country in the next few weeks. And I was like, I'm not going anywhere, mate. This is a load of nonsense. You can keep your tarots. Thank you very much. And he was so on point. I was gone within the month.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you never know. You never know what's in the cards. But yeah, no, it was an amazing.
And was that for Holiday FM, that job in Ibiza?
That was for Holiday FM. Yeah.
And how long did you do that for?
So I was with Holiday FM for 2 years, and after that, I started my own little pirate station type thing. Should I even say that?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
I ordered an aerial from the internet. And I was living on the top floor of an apartment building, so I shimmied up onto the roof,
Brilliant.
stuck my aerial up, and did these live broadcasts from clubs. And and actually, while I was doing that, and I wanted to get a bit of sponsorship for the little station, I spoke to Pioneer DJ about some sponsorship. And this was just at the beginning of the YouTube era, so videos were just becoming a thing. So they asked me to film my interviews and the live broadcast that we were doing.
DJ Sounds, no?
DJ Sounds, yeah. Yeah. So then all of a sudden I was a video producer and presenter. And so that was a real change in direction, because I just went to them thinking, oh, they might give us a little sponsorship and do some advertising on the radio station. But no, I ended up becoming a video presenter. That was a great time.
You were really good at that. I remember there was one particular one. Do I remember Lorna Garnier?
One haunts me. This one haunts me so much. But come on, Laurent Garnier though, he's so cool. I'm so
I can't even remember what it was about it, but there was some flirting going on.
Oh man. I think I was desperately trying not to flirt, but looking back at that video, a friend of mine keeps bringing it to my attention, and it's so embarrassing, shameless. But he's an amazing, lovely person, great DJ, and all the rest.
Yeah, brilliant.
How could I not flutter my eyelashes a little bit?
Well, shall we introduce the first track while we're here? A classic track that you couldn't live without.
Oh, a classic track that I couldn't live without. I'm going hip hop.
Cool. Yeah.
I love hip hop, and I'm sure that everybody that you speak to is going to say this, but this is the most impossible task for somebody who loves music, right?
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, so I'm just going with how I felt over that. And I've agonised over this list over the last week, right? And it's changed about 100 times in that time. But as it stands, I'm just thinking about my love of hip hop. And as much as I love rappers like Nas is my favourite, Kano, British rapper, one of my favourites, Kendrick Lamar, very, very almost made the list. But this classic it's been there since I was a kid. Just formed so much of my identity. I'm going with De La Soul, Me, Myself and I.
From an amazing album.
That album, just the cover alone.
Absolutely.
The merit of the cover is enough.
Brilliant. Well, let's have a listen.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, tell me, mirror, what is wrong? Can it be my De La clothes, or is it just my De La Soul? What I do ain't make-believe. People say I sit and try, but when it comes to being De La, just me, myself, and I. It's just me, myself, and I. It's just me, myself, and I. It's just me, myself, and I. I'm proud of what I am. Poems I speak are plugged too tight. Please, oh please, let plug to be himself, not what you read, alright? Right is wrong when hype is written on the soul, they lie that. Style is surely our own thing, not the false disguise of showbiz. They lie soul is from the soul, and this fact I can't deny. Strictly from the Dan called Stucky, and from me, myself, and I. Just me, myself, and I. It's just me, myself, and I. It's just me, myself, and I. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory for plug 1 and 2. But that glory's been denied by Cassids and gookie eyes. People think they diss my person by stating I'm darkly packed. I know this, so I point at Q-tip and he states black is black. Mirror, mirror on the wall, shovel chestnuts in my path. Just keep all nuts with the nuts so I don't get an aftermath. But if I do, I'll calmly punch them in the 4th day of July. Cause they try to mess with 3rd degree, that's me, myself, and I. It's just me, myself, and I. It's just me, myself, and I. It's just me, myself, and I.
What track? It's amazing, isn't it?
It doesn't get old. How old is that track? We should have looked that up.
Yeah.
You were listening. It's
Early 90s, late 80s. Is it as
late
early
80s?
Late 80s?
Oh, yeah. But that's part of the fabric of me, that song.
Yeah.
And they're still going strong. They're still out there making albums, touring. So, respect to De La Soul.
Absolutely. So back to Ibiza. So what did you do? Because you end up moving out there full time, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I did what everybody does. Is I'll just go for the summer. I'm just going to do one summer, which turned into about 6 years. A couple of Ibiza winters, which is enough to send someone crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet in the winter, isn't it? You're like me, you need stuff going on, don't you?
Yeah, you need a bit of stimulation. I mean, it's nice to have that peace and quiet. So I do a long summer and probably get out of there in November and do Christmas, back at home.
Right.
And then it was quite nice because you could go and travel in the winter. That was quite a nice rhythm to do, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I did, you do like sun chasing. A lot of people went off to Bali and India and places like that. But I went to Brazil. I do the Caribbean in the winters.
Ah, brilliant.
So that was good. I missed that lifestyle. I missed that rhythm.
Yeah.
But it sucks you in. Like we were saying, it sucks you in. You think it's going to be that one summer, but I don't know anyone that's stayed for one summer in Ibiza.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? It's a magnet, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think maybe we spoil ourselves by being there for that long, because anything afterwards is just not quite, is it?
It's not you're chasing that all the time, and it's hard. Yeah, real life, real life in the real world. It's just a whole different experience, and you're chasing that high, just that life high that you get just from seeing all those sunrises and sunsets in Ibiza. Sunrises when you come home and sunsets when you're going out, and the beaches and the natural life and the music and the crazy and interesting people that come in and out of that island. Yeah, it is a high energy place.
It is, isn't it? When did you move back? You moved back to London?
Yeah, so that's 10 years ago now. So 2011, and came back to London. Just felt like it was time to come back to being near family and feeling rooted and stop living out of a suitcase, because that gets quite tiring.
Yeah.
And then I guess I was thinking about my next move. So I was thinking, what does one do after doing radio and video, and TV felt like a natural next step. So yeah, after a bit of training, I did some journalism training, and then this opportunity came up to help out at a new channel, a London TV channel. I was like, that sounds like a bit of me.
Perfect.
Went in there to help out, and have been there since they started, really. I was like employee number 3 after the director.
Really?
And the launch director.
That sounds pretty exciting.
It was amazing. It was very fast paced. We had very little time to set up a whole TV channel and get lots of programs in and content in, and I was doing bits of everything, production and filming and finding content, and there was no sleep and so much going on. But it was thrilling, and just working on something new is something that I like. And it was London, so fancy myself as a real London girl. So yeah, it really fit, and that was a great way to be back in London and back in the UK.
And so that was what, almost 10 years ago, something like that?
Yeah, almost.
Oh, great.
So that's been a while.
Yeah, and you still work sort of a day or 2 a week for them, is that right?
Yeah, I do. I'm a partnerships manager, so it's a cool job. I just work with organisations and producers and get their content on the channel and give them a platform and find lots of indie content. And yeah, it's creative, and you get to talk to cool people.
Nice.
Jobs I like.
Yeah. Do many people watch it?
Yeah, it's it's a tiny commercial channel, and for the kind of budgets that we have, we managed to get amazing content on, and our production teams and news teams are really good. So the level of what we have on, because if you think about similar channels on, Sky and stuff like that, they look like small channels, and we look like a big channel. We're in with the big players, but we're only a small team, very dedicated and passionate team. And cool. The channel's doing well because of it. Still there, so that's something.
Well, that's got to be a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So leading into your second track, a new track that you can't stop listening to.
Yeah, I'm going with Steam Down, Free My Skin, because it's new-ish. And first of all, the track itself's just got energy. It's like energy, it's dance floor, and also it's jazz, and it's UK contemporary, kind of this new renaissance that jazz is having.
And you're well into your music, aren't you? Well into your music. We've been to various festivals and gigs and things since I've been back in England, and I know you're seriously into music.
We're just looking at my much dwindled record collection, but still there, I've still got the passion. And I'm really into jazz. I'm really, really into jazz. And jazz is one of those things that suffered from an image issue because people associate it with elevator music, and
which is such a shame, isn't it? It's so diverse.
Yeah, and it's changing. And there are, these young generation of jazz musicians in the UK making amazing music with lots of influences. So we like a bit of Afrobeat, like we've seen some Afrobeat artists, and they bring in some of that influence, and then they'll bring in some hip hop elements and the jazz, traditional jazz, and just mixes everything together. And I love that energy, and it's just representative of what's going on in the UK and especially in London right now.
Wipe skin. Free my skin. Free my skin. In your philosophy, it's the penitentiary where you try to trap me. False identities. This end is the start. Here I take back my heart. I see it now. Free my skin. Free it now.
They wanna kill us or our skin, and they think that we're all covered in sin. I was running from racist fed to Dr. Martin's fam. I was Jesse Owens invalid. They can't contain the hatred that's within. It's not a thing, I wear my cape and spread my wings. Long jacket like Luther, middle finger up with my stride. To remind these pricks that I'm a king, I'm a king, I'm a king. Wait. These shackles that I once had on the now with me from out here trying to hold conversations with a broken wrist. I went across the bridge and attempted to rebuild trust on a foundation that no longer exists. They think so we can't see, and we won't fall for the shit that the media feed. We'll take a stand and force these feds to be receptive. Stand outside these mental prisons, scream and let my people free.
Oh wow, that's a track, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Energy. See?
Yes.
Told you.
Definitely got some energy in that.
I haven't seen them live, and I've been told you just have to see them live to get that energy and be down the front.
When you find out when they're playing, please let me know.
We'll do
I'll be
it.
well up for that as well.
Front and centre, Jamie.
Yeah, amazing. So at some point you decided that you wanted to have a bit of a change.
Yeah.
What brought that about?
I'm laughing to myself because like my oldest best friend that I've known all my life, and like her mum and my mum are best friends. She will always joke that growing up, whenever people try and guess what they do, they always think that I'm a social worker. So there's always been this thing that people always think that I'm like a social worker or something in that field. Okay. And so like randomly now getting close to that, I think people always perceive me as being, somebody who looks quite caring. Like I always get people asking if I'm a nurse or some sort of carer.
Really?
Yeah.
I always think you just look super cool.
Thank you.
Not that nurses and carers aren't cool, but I would have put something a bit more creative than that.
Yeah, maybe a cool social worker.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But she always jokes that like I'll end up doing that one day, and I had this calling. I can only call it a calling of like I just wanted to give something back. I feel like media a little bit is the dark side.
Right, yeah.
And I wanted to give something back to the universe. As I'm saying those words out loud, it sounds so corny coming out of my mouth. But you just want to like do good and like give good energy, man. And
it makes sense.
So I was toying with the idea of, how do I help people? How do I connect with people and do that giving to the universe thing? And did an introduction to counselling course because I just had an idea that might be a way to really help people and support people.
Yeah.
Did the course, loved it. That was it. I was in. I was like,
brilliant.
Yeah, that's a bit of me. And just kind of letting myself be in that role of the helping carer person that seemed to be written on my face for a very long time. And then I went and did my training. And
how long does that take?
So all in all, 3 years. And I didn't do the undergrad, but because I'd studied, I had a degree already, they let me access the course. And it's intense. And I have to say, when I went through that training, my whole life went upside down. Like everything changed in my life because in the process, you have to look at yourself and you go through therapy, and there's a lot of reflection and analysis of your own life and yourself, and you've got to make sure that you're well. So that really kind of digs into some of your own personal stuff. So
yeah, I can imagine.
That really, changed things for me, like the job that I was in at the time and the relationship that I was in, like everything changed.
Wow. Yeah.
During the time that I was doing my counselling training in a good way, in a really positive way. and you learn about yourself, and you learn to accept yourself, and you learn how to embrace and kind of ride out difficult stuff, which was useful in the training as well.
Yeah.
So that's all part of the process that I think is the great thing about being in this field. So yeah, I decided to become a psychotherapist.
Oh, amazing. And how long have you been practicing that now?
So I've been in private practice for about 4 years. And before that, I was doing some counselling for the NHS. And actually, I'm still part of the Grenfell counselling team.
Oh, amazing.
So in the hotels where people were living after the fire, and now at the inquiry. Yeah, so all in all, yeah, I guess I've been doing that for about 6 years.
So what has that involved?
Yeah, we were a team of freelance counsellors, I guess. And we would be in the hotels where they were staying night after night until 3 a.m, just being on hand to be there for what they were going through.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was a unique experience.
I can imagine.
I would say, yeah. But you really learn about humanity in those moments, and that fire, that happening and the way things happened. I have lots of views about how could something like that happen. There were so many mistakes that happened, and how challenging that is and was for the community, but also how they did rally together, and the wider community pulled together and got involved. And I would have volunteered. I remember getting in touch to volunteer when it all happened, and then just by reaching out, then being invited to be part of this counselling team. But yeah, you just get to see how people pull together and are strong together and want to heal each other. Yeah, all of that stuff.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so sad as it was, you see the good side of human nature as well.
Yeah, well, that's good. Leading on to your third track, a track that gives you goosebumps, old or new.
Oh my gosh. This was an easy one, actually, because when I think about this, even now, thinking about this track and thinking about the artist gives me goosebumps because it's Prince. It's Diamonds and Pearls. And I was like so about Prince for most of my life. Oh, he's very talented. But by a fluke, I got to see him in one of those gigs that he did just before he passed away. So he did those secret last-minute gigs in London. And I've got a friend of mine who is the biggest Prince fan. He's on another level.
Yeah.
He's been to hundreds of concerts.
Oh, wow.
And the after parties. He's been to Paisley Park.
Oh, wow.
Where Prince lives, and has this whole big story about meeting Prince. And so he's a real fan. So he had messaged me saying, Lorna, listen to the radio. There's going to be a Prince gig. We've got to go. We got there really early. We were right in the front of the queue. So we got in there first. It was only a tenner at the Shepherd's Bush Empire.
Brilliant.
And it meant that we got in right at the front, in the middle, and it took a while for people to pile in. So we saw Prince come out on stage and test all of the instruments.
Oh, no way.
And even at that point, he just came out and just put his hands on the piano, and the sound that came out, I've never seen anything like it. I've heard anything.
He was so super talented, wasn't he?
Oh my goodness. Then he was on the drums, and it's no effort.
Yeah.
But the sound that comes out, and then the guitar, he just makes the guitar sing. And he's this tiny little guy with the big heels. And my jaw was on the floor. I was stunned. And then the gig was amazing. And so now when I think of Prince, I get goosebumps, but also just thinking about this song. It's Brilliant. A big song.
Yeah. I to be honest, I've got a similar thing. I saw him I was lucky enough to see him, 10 or 15 years ago, and I hadn't been a massive fan before that. I'd slowly got a bit more into him, and then I saw him live, and I was like, this guy is just unbelievable,
incredible. There's no there's no comparison. There's nobody else. There'll never be another one of him. He's unique.
Yeah.
And dancing and singing, the voice, he can rap. He's so many things.
Yeah. Brilliant. Let's stick it on.
This will be the day that you will hear me say that I will never run away. I am here for you. Love is meant for two. Now tell me what you're gonna do. If I gave you diamonds and pearls, would you be a happy boy or a girl? If I could, I would give you the world. But all I can do is just offer you my love. Which one of us is right? If we always fight, or can we just let love decide? By the week of May, 'cause I understand that love must be the master plan. If I gave you diamonds and pearls, would you be a happy boy or a girl? If I could, I would give you the world. All I can do is just offer you my love. D to the I to the A to the M, O to the N to the D to the girls of love. D to the I to the A to the M, O to the N to the D to the girls of love. There will come a time when you blow your mind, and everything you look for you'll find. Take a look inside. That will be the time. That'll be the time. Everything will shine. So bright it makes you colorblind. You will be colorblind. Diamonds and pearls. Would you be a happy boy or a girl? If I could, I would give you the world. All I can do is just offer you my love. If I gave you diamonds and pearls, would you be a happy boy or a girl? If I could, I would give you the world. Give you the world. All I can do is just offer you my love.
I think you've got a tear in your eye, Jamie.
Yeah.
But look, proof, goosebumps.
Perfect. That's what I asked for, wasn't it? The track that gives you goosebumps. Proof is in the is in the arms. So you've been doing the two jobs. You've been still in the dark side, the media, and you've been doing your own practice with the counselling.
Yeah.
And how does that work with the two careers going as one? Well, going at the same time. should I say.
Yeah, just being very disciplined about time management.
Right.
There is something to be said about kind of flipping your mindset all the time, going into kind of TV mode and then into that kind of empathetic space of being a therapist. But people always think that they're quite different, but actually there's quite a lot of crossover in
Oh, yeah?
the skills and the headspace that you use. TV is a lot about relationships, and especially my role as a partnerships person, about kind of looking for solutions, in a way, making things work, creating space for people to, I don't know, create things, happens on the TV side.
Right, that makes sense.
And it kind of transfers over into what I do in therapy.
And do you think you found, like, or should I say from either side, skills that you've found in the media side, or skills that you found in the therapy side that are kind of transferable and have made you have maybe a different outlook on the other one, if that makes any sense?
I think training in therapy has helped me to not be so stressed about the stressful world of media.
Right.
Because it is so stressful, and especially in live TV, because I cut my teeth doing like live production, and
Wow, yeah.
that is stressful. And there's so many things that can and will go wrong, and it is stressful. So being calm when the what is hitting the fan has been a useful thing. I'm not sure if that's quite the question you were asking me, but that's been useful.
That makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then going the other way, communication. In TV, you have to be a good communicator, and working in media, working in radio, and that really helps in working with different types of people that you'll come across in therapy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you specialise in anything on the therapy side?
I would say, I guess I'm a general therapist, but people tend to come to me dealing with anxiety and depression. And what tends to be quite common is that they've gone through some trauma, and childhood trauma. This feels like a very different tone now, but yeah, and trauma is a word that we hear a lot at the moment when we talk about mental health. But it can be, the big T trauma, big things that you've gone through that were really difficult, and the little T trauma, the stuff that happened on a regular basis, on a long-term basis, that can really impact you, but you don't realise because you normalise it as a way to cope.
Right, that makes sense.
And then that normalisation and coping strategy kind of gets in the way of you leading a nice, balanced, healthy life as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people are dealing with that, and they don't really know, they don't have the awareness of that. So they just think it's their personality, or they just think that they've got something wrong with them. And it happens most of the time that when I sit down with clients, I'll be like, look, I know this is really cheesy and this is a therapy cliche, but tell me about your childhood. Because it's just a very quick way to get to learning how a person copes with things and where they might have developed their behaviours and strategies for life. So, yeah, if there was a specialism, I would say it's around childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And how that impacts your life as an adult.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense. And how easy was it to build up your own client base?
I think that people are just starting to normalise going to therapy. I think a lot of people are seeing it as a normal thing, an option, akin to looking after their physical health. They want to look after their mental health, especially with social media being what it is. That helps people normalise talking about their mental health. And so, yeah, I mean, even to the point where it's kind of swinging to, I have a lot of millennial clients, and it's almost like a trendy thing to have a therapist. Really? Yeah.
Because I guess when we were younger, I don't know about you, but I didn't really know anybody.
No. It was like an American thing.
Yeah, it was.
You saw in the movies and the TV series. It's like they all have therapists. Well, they're all crazy anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it was that kind of feeling. And actually, to be honest with you, the first time I had therapy was when I started training as a therapist.
Oh, no way.
And I kind of went in there thinking, well, I'm all right, I'm pretty chill, I'm sorted, like, don't worry about it. And started having therapy and started to learn so much about myself, Jamie.
I know, yeah.
And it's an exploration, and it can be challenging, but it can lead you to having a more chilled life in a way. Even if you have your own anxieties, you can learn to work with those and deal with them and cope with them in a way that isn't so consuming.
Right, yeah. And so by doing this work, have you found that it's easier to work on yourself? Or do you, because doing this, like, you have to have therapy at the same time, don't you? Because you know, putting up with people, sorry, that sounds wrong, but like having people telling you their issues all day must impact on you as well.
I am therapied up to the eyeballs. I have my own therapist. Actually, being with the professional body that I'm signed up with, you have to be able to show proof of your own self-care and professional development.
Oh, wow.
So we have to have a supervisor that we talk to about our client work. And I'm in peer groups talking about my client work. I have a therapist. I do, like, my self-care is paramount. So, and you can be audited on that.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and I think that's good. It's important because you need to be able to support.
Yeah, absolutely.
Support other people.
Makes sense. So going on to your fourth track, which is the track that stopped you in your tracks.
The track that stopped me in my tracks has got to be by one of my all-time heroes, and I have a huge canvas of her on my wall, Nina Simone.
Yeah, absolute legend.
She's an inspiration for so many reasons, but even just for the way she plays piano and sings.
Yeah,
it's beautiful, and it really comes out in this song. And there's a version of this song, actually thinking about it, that she does live at the Montreux Jazz Festival, which she even says when she's doing the performance, she's like, oh, the spirit's taking me now. And you feel it. You feel the spirit through Nina. Yeah. So
which track have you picked?
I Wish I Knew.
Wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains that still binding me. Yeah. Wish I could say all the things that I can say when I'm relaxed. I'd be starting anew. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. Don't leave me. How sweet it would be to find that I could fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'd sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free. And then I'd sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Wish I could break all the things that bind us apart. Wish you could know what it means to be me. And you'd see, you'd agree, everybody should be free, 'cause if we ain't, we're murderous. Wish I could be like a bird in the sky. sweet it would be. I could find that I could fly so to the sun. Look down and see me. I know, yes, I know. Oh yeah, spirit's moving now. For you, I already know. Jonathan Livingston Seagull ain't got nothing on me. Free, 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 free. I'm free, and I know it. Don't wanna be, and I show it, but I'm still free. And sing, 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 'cause I would know. I already know.
It's a lovely song, that is, isn't it?
It is.
And she was a talent.
Yeah, she knows how to play those keys.
Yeah, because she trained classically, didn't she? That's how it came about. Yeah. I remember I watched a documentary recently.
Yes, yeah.
But she just wasn't accepted in the classical world, was she?
No, she wasn't. No.
Yeah, it seems such a shame, doesn't it?
I guess, but I suppose it's indicative of the times in that, maybe up even till now, that she was a black woman playing classical piano. There wouldn't have been many opportunities for her. Maybe there's, still a time where it wasn't allowed to a certain degree. I don't know if it was still in exactly in Jim Crow times, so when the segregation laws were still in place in the United States, but there was still it was still there in society in America, that division. And yeah, so she wasn't accepted in the classical world, and she wanted to speak out. She wanted to speak out about what she saw about racial injustice and the injustice of the time, and speak about racial politics. And as a black singer, as a black musician, at that time you would have been told, don't do that, otherwise you'll lose your career, because you'd be ousted from the music industry. And that happened to her. It happened to other artists as well.
And that's even in when she went into playing jazz and things like that.
Right.
Her further on in her career. Yeah.
Exactly.
So she'd already been denied her route through the classical world, and then she went into the jazz world, and then that's when she was coming up against problems as well, because of how when she was talking out. Yeah. And she didn't stop. She still carried on making her music, saying what she had to say, doing activism in her way. And she did. She after a time she lost her career. She stopped getting opportunities, and there was a big break in her career between the 70s and 80s. And I think she came back in the 80s doing live gigs, but by that time she was probably quite impacted by her lifestyle, should we say. Right, yeah.
But still a trailblazer, still spoke out. So she's an inspiration to me.
And an amazing talent at the same time.
The way she plays piano, the way she sings, and how she puts all of that with words, and her character, and what she said and what she did. Yes, I think she's amazing.
Amazing. Brilliant. What direction would you like to be going in?
I think, I mean, I love this field. I love what I do. I love connecting with people. It does give me purpose and satisfaction. You know, when I see clients moving on and they've got all these tools in their tool bag and they're looking at life differently, that feels great. I feel like I just want to reach more people. So I want to find a way to do that, because one-on-one is great, but it's quite intense and it actually takes a lot out of me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I want to be reaching more people. So finding ways to do that somehow, you know, whether that means doing different formats, doing group therapy, doing courses, just encompassing some of this learning and making it accessible. So there's always that barrier as well with therapy being expensive, which, yeah, I guess it can be. But you've got charities that do give access to mental health services, and you've got the NHS. But being able to make it widely accessible through literature and somehow through online services. Just want to be able to reach more people. Just want to get it out there to more people, and people that might not think it's for them.
Right, yeah.
I think that's the thing, because it's all well and good me with these trendy millennials, but yeah, people that really could do with that connection with someone who can support them therapeutically.
Yeah.
So finding ways to do that, Jamie, but I haven't cracked that exactly yet, but it's coming. It's
Work
coming.
in progress.
Work in progress. Watch
Brilliant.
this space.
So, anybody that inspires you, more than one person, or one person that you find as an inspiration, apart from the people that we've already mentioned, the artists that we've already mentioned?
Yeah, Nina is really up there on that list for me, for all those reasons that we said. I'm going to say Doreen Lawrence.
Okay.
Dame Doreen Lawrence, as she is known now. Because she lost her son, Stephen Lawrence, at the hands of an unprovoked racist attack at a bus stop in South London back in the early 90s, in 93. And he was just minding his business, young black boy with lots of promise, wanted to be an architect and, you know, a good member of the community. And he was attacked and killed in a street in South London, which in itself is traumatic enough, is tragic enough. But then, because of the institutional racism at that time in the Met, his case wasn't looked into properly. And actually his family became subject to surveillance by the Met.
Really?
As opposed to them going after the perpetrators. So it's only been recently, actually, in the last couple of years, that a couple of his killers have come to justice. But Doreen Lawrence, since that time, has spent her life chasing some form of justice, sacrificed her marriage, you know, it meant her marriage, and her life has been given to having conversations in high places about structural racism and fighting the racism in the Met. You know, we had the McPherson report, which stated that the Met was racist. There was structural racism in the Met Police, and that led to her son's killing not being investigated. And seeing how that structural racism permeates lots of society, lots of culture in the society and lots of places. And she's fought that, and she's made real change. And she's changed the fabric of society in this country. And that's one Jamaican woman. It's sad that she's had to be that strong black woman, but because of her, there's been so much change. And I've got so much respect for her. And I think about the rooms that she's had to be in and the conversations that she's had to have and all of that while grieving. Yeah. I have respect for her.
Amazing.
She's inspiring.
Truly inspiring woman. So, leading on to your last track, which is your guilty pleasure track.
I'm wondering if I can get away with this as a guilty pleasure. And I should have gone with, so I'd mentioned Billy Joel. Joel, how do you even say it? Because I do like his music. But he plays piano as well. Great piano, Some tunes. He's got some tunes. And I do like a bit of Queen every now and again.
Yeah.
Did I just say that out loud? Please.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of Queen.
Edit that out. But, you know, whenever I hear Don't Stop Me Now, my toe is like secretly tapping. It's like, no, don't start singing along. But
Queen were pretty cheesy, but they were they were pretty amazing at the same time, weren't they? And that performance at Live Aid, you can't watch that without getting goosebumps.
Yes, yeah. So if I were playing by the rules, it probably would have been one of those two. But I've gone with a song that just had to be on this list because anyone that knows me knows that this is one of my all-time favourite songs. I know all the words. I am going to belt this out when we play it. And it is cheesy disco diva song. But I just love it. Yeah, so I'm going to go with this cheesy disco diva, hairbrush, sing-along moment. Shaka Khan, Ain't Nobody.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'll accept that.
Can I get away with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it not cheesy enough?
I guess it is cheesy, but I love it. This is a classic, isn't it?
I think it qualifies because any song that gets played at a wedding, I think can be on the guilty pleasures list.
That's a good point. an all-time classic, isn't it?
It is. I could have put that in so many categories, actually, that song.
I think actually when we spoke in the week, I think
it was in a different category.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
Brilliant song.
Yeah, but Shaka Khan, she's one of my favourite singers. Great voice, amazing. Just, yeah, she's got a belting out voice that just seems to come from nowhere, and she can shoot it across a room.
Yeah.
And I love her voice.
Amazing. Well, Lorna, thank you very much for today. I really appreciate this. Thank you for coming and chatting with me. And
it's always a pleasure to chat to you, Jamie.
Oh.
Thank you for inviting me. I feel so honoured. Thank you.
Thank you.
And any excuse to talk about music and life.
Yeah, brilliant. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to find out more about Lorna and her practice, take a look at her website, goodsoultherapy.co.uk. I've also put the link in the episode description. If you missed the first episode where I interviewed my good friend Sean Hughes about him cycling to Ibiza, competing in an Ironman and the London Marathon, along with other things, you can check it out at the same place that you found Lorna's interview. Next month I'll be back interviewing someone else that I find interesting and inspiring and asking them about 5 tracks that mean something to them too. Until next time, take it easy.